So, good question. I think what you need to do is you need to step back and realize that there is no perfect economic system that will best serve human needs or the biosphere on planet Earth forever. Right? We're not going to one day, it's like a marriage. Like you don't one day just have the best day ever with your spouse and you're like, I'm done. I can just kick back and sit on my laurels. Right? If you understand a committed partnership, it's dynamic and you have to pay attention. And you have to be caring and you have to apologize and you have to adapt. So, capitalism as we know it, the shareholder economy, which is this giant juggernaut, has lifted vast numbers of people out of poverty. So it has done many good things. When I look around the world, I read David Graeber's book not too long ago called Debt, D-E-B-T, The First 5,000 Years. And in it, it's a polemic, it's an argument, but in it he also kind of in some ways catalogs all these different amazing forms of commerce and debt and credit that have existed in different civilizations at different places and times. And so what you start to realize is there was this diversity of economic systems, and they were adaptive to that context. And now what we have is the equivalent of monoculture. It's as though the entire world was sown with one kind of corn. And if I described to you an eggplant, it would be unimaginable. Right? When I talk to people, especially people who are very savvy business people, it's amazing the imagination constraints, because they feel like capitalism as we know it now is the one and only true system, and it's baked into the fabric of the universe, and you just got to adapt to it. So there's three things that I think capitalism is suicide. I think it's civilizational suicide. Right? Jared Diamond writes about it in Collapse. One is wealth polarization. At the incentive layer, at the very wellspring, if you imagine a mountain, and here's this giant river flowing from the top of the mountain, and that river is sort of calibrated to polarize wealth. What we do is we alter its course in all these ways using things like progressive taxation, rule of law, regulation, to try to bolster a middle class. But the system itself naturally produces a tiny amount of winners and a huge amount of marginalized people. So we're trying to fix it after the fact. Like I just got back from OC Impact, Opportunity Collaboration in Mexico. And all of those wonderful, caring, compassionate, deeply thoughtful, and often brilliant people, when I look, I see them swimming upstream in the river of capitalism, right? Because you only have two choices: drink and be part of it, or die of thirst, right? If you refuse to participate, you can't even see to your basic needs. So wealth polarization, hyperconsumption. The tail is officially wagging the dog when it comes to macroeconomics. What that means is you and I come up with a foolproof plan to make 1 million sweaters, right? And we are not responding to, oh, that guy over there is cold, let's make him a sweater, right? We're going to make 1 million sweaters, and then we're going to make him feel inadequate if he's not wearing one. That's the low-hanging fruit of marketing. That's what marketers often cannot resist doing, you know. And if you want to see a more altruistic form of marketing, you can check out Seth Godin, right, who does opt-in marketing. Seth's philosophy would be more like, you're perfect and totally lovable exactly as you are. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm really excited about this sweater. Would you like to try one? And that's just harder. It's harder to do. And then the third thing I think that is really really not sustainable is the tragedy of the commons. And this is that capitalism is designed to be maximally extractive. And again, we slap regulation on top of that, environmental regulation, other things. But really, if like the four of us lived in near a rainforest, capitalism would suggest that the first one of us to cut it all down and profit wins. And the other three people are just shit out of luck. So those are three things that I think are unsustainable. And I think you can acknowledge all the good that's come out of entrepreneurship and still acknowledge that those three trends, if they go on forever, won't work. The reason I got excited about distributed ledger tech. And I have to give credit here to Matt McGraw. So he was a friend. Matt and his wife, Elle, had a space in San Francisco. And he was essentially, as he said it, retired. He'd had a few tech exits. And they were just, they loved my dinners. They loved the good people dinners. So they started hosting the dinners and coming to a lot of the dinners and coming to the retreats and stuff like that. And maybe 14 months ago or a little more, he came and said, you know that I have like a whole palette of exercises I facilitate with startups. He said, you know that thing you do with the branding and da-da-da? Could you do that for us? So like, okay. So I joined, and then I got offered a job, and then I got offered partner at this benefit corporation called the Bureau. And the reason I got more and more and more excited about it is it's subversive. DLTs, blockchain, are subversive. They have the potential to completely reimagine incentive systems, how wealth and power are instantiated and then distributed, and how they're exercised in concert, right? Disintermediation, decentralization. I've never met you. Blockchain can help in new and interesting ways with that indelible digital ledger to foster trust and cooperation between us.
And so what does the current system right now look like with centralized institutions?
With centralized institutions. I'm really tempted to steal from our friend Marta, who was on this show recently.
Do it. She won't mind.
Okay, I credited you, Marta. But, the reason I like that she did this is it's the simplest and most obvious one, right? So if I have $5, right, and I say I want to give you $5, right now the way it works with our digital money, because we're already using digital money, I say to my bank, I would like to give Michele $5. Okay, they debit my account. They go to your bank. Please credit her account $5, right? And then your bank says, you just got $5 from Raman. Given the state of technology, even in centralized databases, and them taking a fee as middlemen and trust brokers, I don't think that makes a lot of sense anymore. Like, we should be able to transact directly. So there are central authorities that act as trust brokers in almost every aspect of our lives. Your patient data right now, and we can talk about self-sovereign identity, is essentially on some company's database, and they're constrained by HIPAA, but it's theirs, right? It's not yours.
Because they own the servers. They approve the transactions.
That's right.
The transactions have to go through them to get to someone else.
And it'd be a hassle if you switch providers and you try to get it.
Right.
They're actually economically incentivized to kind of try to make it a hassle to switch.
Or they do.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same with phone companies, right? Until there's legislation that allowed you to keep your phone number when you switch phone companies, they were like, no, we're not going to let you do that. So
we don't really... No, ownership's not it's just a time suck, costs money.
Time suck, costs money. It has a target painted on it for hackers, and those data breaches happen pretty much every day now, and in large
you hear
centralized
them all the time.
And so this is a major dysfunction in distributed ledger technology. There are concepts like sharding, but essentially it becomes hard to impossible to do the kind of hacks that you routinely experience at, Facebook recently lost a bunch of personal data, for instance.
Right. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching the episode. If you're interested in contributing to the conversation and supporting the show, there's 2 easy things you can do. 1, click subscribe, and 2, visit our Patreon page where you get exclusive access to the Exploring Minds community.